Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Jon and I are here. We've got a couple of Baxter home hockey games to cover for you. Jon, here we are again.
Talking about UNO hockey. Yeah, it's been a rough road recently for our Mavericks, but we're here. We're committed to doing this. Mavpuck.com has been around since January of 2000. Okay. This podcast has been around since October of 2018, and that 2018-19 season was not a particularly good season. I felt really bad that we happened to start the podcast that season. But we've learned over the years that the podcast has nothing to do with the success on the ice. So we're just here to document and comment on what happens. But before we get...
Tell me is that what I wear to hockey games doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Fans tried to wear various combinations of jerseys, hoodies, etc. that they had worn before when the team had won, and it made no difference whatsoever.
You're just mad because I made you wear this hoodie like half the season in a row last year.
I'm not going to lie to you. Bridget and I were at the last two road series, the one at Duluth with you guys, and then the one out in Colorado Springs. And when I wore that particular gray hoodie that you're wearing, well, not the same gray hoodie, but the same, not
style.
Anyway, yes, the same style hoodie that we both inadvertently got at the same time at Lawler's. The team is 3-0 in that hoodie on the road. Okay, but it doesn't work at home. The magic does not extend to Baxter Arena.
Not good at Baxter, yeah.
So again, we do what we can, but we have really no impact whatsoever. But before we get to this most recent series against Western Michigan, we'd like to thank our founding members for their support of the Mavpuckcast this season. As I am talking, you are seeing a scroll of the names of the folks who supported Mavpuck.com during the 2025-26 season. And their names will also appear at the end of each episode. And if you would like to become a founding member, visit mavpuck.com/join. All right, Jason, let's talk about that Western Michigan series. Jason and I were playing around with our audio before we started recording. So we're starting recording like a half an hour late. So I hope that everything sounds good for you guys. If it doesn't, we apologize. Jason and I promise next time that we'll do our testing during the week or on a Saturday when we're not recording. We'll just record a bunch of little separate audio files and see how that goes. But again, Jason, on it. I know I drive Bridget nuts with this because 15 minutes before she's set to present a webinar, I'll start playing around with stuff. And she just she looks at me and she's like, stop messing around with stuff before we get set to do these recordings. And Jason, I don't know. I like to tinker with stuff. I know you do too. It's probably
always not tinkering.
It's probably not the best combination having us do this together because we just sit here for 2 hours. Is this recording better? Is this setting better? Anyway. On to the Western Michigan series. So we were hopeful the boys would be rolling out of the gate against Western Michigan for another big NCHC series. So we go into that game on Friday night. And 2:25 into the first, Brett Highland puts UNO up 1-0 on the power play. Assist to Lajoie and Pellerine. It was a backdoor shot at the side of the crease. Nice goal. So the Mavs are up 1-0 at that point, Jason.
It was a good play, good puck movement on that power play. And, with a power play, you're always trying to keep the puck moving and look for that open player because teams have to play a zone. You can't go man on man. That's one less math doesn't work for you. So it was good on him to find that kind of soft spot there on the back door, and then just a great setup by Lajoie.
Yeah, absolutely. Tough thing about that period was a couple of late penalties made a difference. Yeah. Hillman went to the box 17:08 into the period for roughing. 2-minute minor. The Mavs managed to kill that off. But a short time after that, minor expired. 1919 into the first period. Brett Hyland gets a 5-minute major and a game misconduct for boarding, and he was done for the night, Jason.
Yeah, and I mean that's your goal scorer off the sheet, and that it does some bad things to your kind of psyche going into that, right? Like he was a guy that was making a difference, and then you've got to find a way to win 2 periods of hockey without him. The good news is that they were at least able to get out of the period still up by one. So you're feeling a little bit like, okay, so might be able to do this. Like, we just got, 4 more minutes of this to kill off. And, then we can kind of get back to our game and get back to pressing and pushing the play and that. And, it's just hard, right? Like, and the thing that's a bummer for us is, it's the early guy on the board for player of the weekend kind of thing because he gets the first goal of the series. But then, like, you got to know not to make that hit. I mean, you just have to. Like, you have to know that when the guy goes up for it, just nothing comes good of, finishing that. So, let him bring it down, just tight check him, and then move on with your life. And, kind of gets into your head a little bit. We've seen them do this before of like, if we have to beat the refs too, then we don't stand a chance. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and our PK unit has been on the struggle bus this season, so that doesn't help. So we go into that second period. Western Michigan scores 2 goals on that
still
five
on
minute
that
power play.
yeah, that 5 minutes. That was rough.
2:37 into the period, William Whitelaw ties it up for the Broncos on that 5-minute power play. It was a backdoor goal off a rebound. And then 3:18 into the period, Ty Hendricks puts Western up 2-1. It was on a deflection of a shot by Samuel Scholand. So yeah, not a great position. You're down 2-1 early. Western adds 2 more goals to go up 4-1 later in the period. One was a power play goal. But Jason, 14:05 into the period, Miles Hillman narrows the lead to 4-2. So we're
And it
thinking
was a
this
good
is
pushback. It was
yeah,
15 seconds after the power play goal, the second power play goal by Hendricks. And so that's kind of what you were needing. Like, unfortunately, what we needed is we needed that kind of play when we went down 2-1. When we let in those two on that 5 minute major, you really looked for them to come out of that and say, we're going to get this back. We're going to get this back to level and go back to playing hockey. So, that third goal is really kind of a nail in the coffin for the guys. And so I love to see them fight back after they gave up that third power play goal, but it was just too little too late.
yeah, 19 seconds after Hillman's goal, Western Michigan's Zachariah Wisdom, who transferred from Colorado College this season, nets a fifth goal for the Broncos. So it's 5-2 after two, and Western adds 2 more in the first half of the third period. The Broncos go on to win 7-2, Jason. The Mavs were outshot 43-23 during the game.
And the
Western
worst part
scored.
of that is you're trying to make a comeback in the third. I mean, you've got a big hill to climb too. Trying to come back in that third period and to get outshot 15-4 is just you can't do that. Like you got no chance of making a comeback if you can only mount 4 shots on goal in a period.
Yeah, Western scored on 3 of 5 power play opportunities, and face-offs were 37-27 in favor of Western Michigan. So, statistically, a rough night for the Mavs. Friday nights have been rough recently. There were a number of similarities to that Friday night game up at Duluth, where we were up 1-0 after the first period, and then the second period we struggled. So we were hopeful going into the Saturday game. As you're well aware, that's why they play 2-game series. Dawson Cowan started in net for the Mavericks. His third start as a Maverick. He started on Saturday night at Duluth and got the shutout. So this was his first start in the confines of Baxter Arena. 357
And not
into
just
the,
hopeful, like you really needed that. We talked about it last week on the preview. These two teams on paper seemed like very, evenly matched. They're both teams that score by committee. They're both teams that have pace to play. And, you know, we really thought that goaltending was going to be, you know, a positive for Omaha in there, and so you really needed to bounce back Saturday and prove to people that you are on that level.
3:57 into the first. Owen Michaels puts Western up 1-0. And then 6:26 into the first, Zachariah Wisdom puts Western up 2-0. So it's 2-0 Western after one. I don't know. You just kind of sensed kind of the collective anxiety among the fans in the stands because they did not want to repeat Friday night for sure. So we go into the second period. 2:41 into the second. Cole Spicer puts the Broncos up 3-0. Got the goal on a rebound. So it's 3-0 Western at that point. It was quiet. There was no atmosphere in Baxter Arena. But late in that second period, Jason, 16:21 into the second, Sam Huo puts UNO on the board. Joe Grammer fired that puck in from the blue line. Huo taps it in. So we leave that second period 3-1 Western, but credit where credit is due. The guys fought back. They played better in that second half of the second period. So it's just a 2-goal lead going into the third period, Jason.
You dug yourself a hole with 3 goals on the board on, and I think the story for the entire weekend was what we saw, pretty significantly there in the first half of the Saturday game, which is UNO needs to shoot the puck. They need a lot of times they deferred to these short passes and take what you get. If you've got a shot, take it and let's, go grind it out. Let's get to work. So really looking for them to kind of capitalize on some early shots in the third.
9 seconds into the third, off that opening faceoff, Cam Mitchell narrows it to 3-2. Ludke and Woodworth moved it up the ice after the faceoff, and Mitchell took advantage. Just great awareness by him to be in position to pick up that puck in our offensive zone and put it in. So it's 3-2 at that point, and the crowd was becoming more energized. And UNO played tough during that third period. They had a number of opportunities. They played better defensively. I thought maybe they were going to tie that thing up there, Jason, but ultimately it didn't happen. And Western scores an empty net goal at the end and goes on to win 4-2. UNO really needs to play with that sort of sense of urgency for 60 minutes in a game.
Yeah, they need to play with flow and they need to, like I said, they need to shoot the puck more. A lot of that comes with teams that just think we got nothing to lose, why not try kind of thing. And so, people are not going to give this team respect and they're going to have to earn everything if they're going to get a spot in an NCAA or, you know, make some hay in the NCHC playoffs or something. It's going to be earned, and so they just have to come together and find a way to make that possible, make that happen. And I really think that the things that continue to plague us, our ability to pass the puck and generate flow off of that transition. You've talked about our transition game in prior podcasts. Those first couple passes on tape with speed moving through is always generates the best offense for us. And then there's those times like the third period, especially the second half of the third period, Western started challenging lanes and it turned into us making poor passes, banking stuff oddly off of boards and putting passes behind players. And so we just got to kind of throw caution to the wind and just pedal the metal at the whole time and just see what happens.
This is a team that, we're one of the oldest teams in Division I hockey. The average age of the UNO hockey team is 22 years and 3 months. And the thing that I would say about that is that these guys know how to play hockey. We're not dealing with mites here. We're dealing with guys who know how to win. They know what commitment it takes to play a full 60 minutes. And so they've got to decide, are they committed to doing this? And I know a lot of people have talked about how, well, UNO's playing the toughest or one of the toughest schedules in Division I hockey this season. It's like, We play one of the toughest schedules in Division One hockey every season. That's what comes with playing in the NCHC. And I know people point to those two non-conference series early against Mankato and UMass, but as Jason and I have talked about for years on this podcast, we need to be playing those tough non-conference teams every year. And there have been years where we've played weaker non-conference teams like Long Island or Niagara, and we've gotten swept by them. So this team has to be ready to play the full 60 minutes, and they've got to play every game as if it's playoff hockey, Jason.
And remember as fans too that this team's done it. You know, we split with UMass. We swept Cara College in their building. You know, we split with Duluth, including a shutout, which not very many teams have been able to do. You know, we talked about how hard it was to shut down that plant line, you know, ad nauseum going into that series. Like, there's good play from this team. There's moments of it, and even in these games, to look at it, you know, the play to start the third period on Saturday, you know, was a good transition play, and it was a great shot and a good goal. You know, but then you get into that, like, oh, that was a poor decision. Well, that you really should not put the puck to the middle of the ice in the neutral zone like that. You know, turnovers at blue lines, and like all these things we talked about that are just like they shoot yourself in the foot. The penalty on Friday, the 5 minute major, right? You can't, this league is too tight. You can't put yourself at a disadvantage. You know, if you're gonna be there, you gotta make someone else do it to you. And I think the thing, just to stay a bit optimistic, which is not my MO usually, is to look at those games and say, like, we know it's there. It's just, how does this coaching staff, you know, bring it out of them? When are these players going to come together and say, like, we've got to be able to do that we've done well more, you know? And we've said we're missing players. Like, it's strange, but we haven't really noticed Briere much this season. We thought we'd get more out of him going into it. He hasn't been there. He wasn't there on the ice this week. I know he was up in Duluth, but like it's a noticeable difference in that. You know, Larange was the other one that I think really made a big difference for this team with him going down. The offense is just different. It's obvious to me, this team with him and that team without him. And those are the types of things that, like, you got to find a way. Someone's got to step up and say, you know, we need a guy in that role, and I can be that guy when that guy goes down, right? And it's going to be something else. Like, someone else is going to get hurt in the season. Someone else is going to miss a game here or there, or two games here or there, or a series or whatever. You know, and so you need that next man up mentality, the ability for someone to step in and say, I can play that role.
I don't want to send the impression that you and I are expecting perfection, because we certainly are not expecting perfection, but we want to see this team perform as if they have the shared goal of trying to fight for a top four seed in the conference playoffs at the end of the season. Right now, it kind of seems like they're going through the motions. There's some inconsistency. And obviously, as you mentioned, the injury bug has hit the team, but the injury bug, you know, hits every team during the course of a regular season. So, you know, it's tough, and these guys have to decide themselves, what do we want to get done and what do we want to accomplish, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond the next few weekends here. But Jason, some series notes here. We are now 1/3 of the way through the season, and we are 5-7 overall. We have played 8 conference games so far. We are 3-5-0 in the NCHC, and we have allowed the most goals in conference play at 33. You know, giving up 33 goals in 8 games. We're giving up a little over 4 goals per game against NCHC competition, and that's not going to win you very many games.
Well, and even outside of conference too. I mean, we're on the level of the independents and some teams you don't want to be, you know, tied with as far as goals allowed. And I really thought that coming into this series, that our defense, our goaltending was our strength, and it hasn't been. I don't like calling players out. It's a hard thing, but the fact is that we need the 2 point small numbers. We need, you know, 2.0, 2.1, 2.2 goals against a game average, and we're getting 3 point whatevers and 4 point whatevers from the goaltending tandem. And so it's hard because that's where I thought we were going to be good, and it's not where we're good. And I don't think that we're scoring at a pace to outscore our problems. There's been plenty of years that North Dakota has done that. That's one that comes to mind. Michigan was known for this for years too, of like, who cares about defense and goaltending? We're going to score a million goals. And so good luck to you being in our track race. Some teams can play that. Like right now, we can't.
Right.
Western starts scoring on Friday, and we just, where's it come from? I don't know, because I don't see anyone on the ice saying, a little bit of arrogance and saying, I'm going to shoot this puck because I can just snipe this goalie and have that mentality. I love the guys we have. It's great that, I'm a team player and I want to pass the puck and everyone should be successful kind of mindset. But it's like, we do kind of need that arrogant little, you know, prick to just be like, you know what? I am the guy on the show. I'm going to come out here and lead this team in goals. Fine, good, let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
you got to put up or shut up.
Yeah, we want them to play with a little bit more swagger and to the point of the goals allowed at 33 in the conference games. We've only scored 19 goals through those 8 games. So that's not going to get it done. And even outside of conference play, we're giving up about 4 goals. And as you mentioned, we do not have, a lineup right now that's going to score, 5 or 6 goals per game. There have been years past where we've had teams that have gotten that done, but that's going to be a tough row to hoe. So they've got to tighten things up defensively. And there's been a lot of talk about, special teams and their PK unit this season. So
And I think a lot of that comes back to my point too earlier about the passing in that transition game. Our ability to get the puck out of our zone efficiently will ease that a lot.
it's still early in the season. So,
Yeah.
you
Like you
know,
said, what, a third of the way through. So
yeah,
plenty of games to work on this stuff, plenty of games to get better. And let's be serious. What matters is post January
yeah,
because it's all NCHC play. And so that's
absolutely
what
right.
we're really building towards. And, given how this team has performed, particularly under Gabnet, it's all driving towards let's make a run post January when we're playing NCHC teams night after night after night.
Exactly right. So, Jason, gotta ask
Oh,
you,
geez.
who is your player of the week for the series against Western Michigan?
I think the one guy I decided to kind of like put a spotlight on this weekend was Luke Woodworth. I know a fan favorite of yours, so I'm probably stealing your pick, but I'm sorry. We really should talk about these things beforehand, so I don't do that.
We probably should. Yeah.
But like I just there were a number of times that I noticed his play. Um, Still think there's a lot of work to go, there. His assist was, I thought, a quality setup, and so um, power to that. I don't know why he didn't get more. May have just been the progression of the game, but hands down our best face-off guy Saturday night. And I think that's another thing that can turn the tides for Omaha if they find a way to start winning 55, 58% of their draws, particularly those high value draws, the first draw on a power play, and the first draw on a penalty kill. It's a much different scenario when you don't have to exit and reentry on a power play. It's a much different scenario on a penalty kill when you can win that draw, even if all it is a win and dump. Your ability to waste 20 seconds of making the puck retrieval, forcing the puck retrieval. So I want to like call him out for being a quality face-off guy for us because that's something I think that gets overlooked by a lot of fans, and I'm not great in a lot of areas of hockey, but the one thing I could do was I found a way to win face-offs, and that was my value to the team. And so little kindred spirit that I'm calling him out for his face-off play here this week.
One of my favorite new players on the roster this season. He's currently second on the team in points with 3 goals and 6 assists. Yeah, like him overall. I think he's going to develop into a really fine player for this Maverick team over the next few seasons. So I've got to go with senior forward Cam Mitchell, who had that goal early in the third period on Saturday night. When you look at Cam Mitchell and you look at some of these veteran players like Jacob Slipek and Tyler Rollwagon, these guys are playing hard out there. They're giving their all every single shift to keep this team going, to keep this team moving forward. And that's what I like. That's what I like to see. You know, it might not always be perfect. It might not always show up on the stat sheet. And like Mitchell, I thought Jacob Slipek had a really good weekend too. And what a gutty play for Mitchell to come out. You know, the team had had a down weekend up until that point, and he gets that goal to put UNO within spitting distance of the Broncos in that third period, and gave the team some renewed life and something to play for there.
Yeah, it gave them some energy. So that's kind of where you look for your seniors to really step up. Is we need a tide changer. A big goal, a big hit. Draw a penalty, something along those lines. Like you really look for that veteran leadership to do that. And like you mentioned, with a team full of older players, these guys you would expect to respond well to things like that.
But Jason, got to talk about our podcast sponsor this season, Wahoo Distillery. I said to Jason, there might be some fans wanting to drink away their sorrows. And what better way to do that after a tough series against Western Michigan than have one of the fine whiskey products from Wahoo Distillery?
Yeah, pour a glass of the original recipe and forget about the 0 home wins in the NCHC this season. Yeah. Or, cinnamon whiskey, spice it up, little holiday flavor. Good opportunity heading in. And so, yeah, discount coupon in the description on the video. Opportunity for you to get 20% off anything that you buy there. So stock up. It's not a one product thing. It's a great offering for Wahoo, and we really appreciate them, stepping up for that and giving our fans, an opportunity to get something that honestly is probably better than you're going to see on Black Friday. So you might as well get your holiday shopping out of the way now. And great offerings. They'll ship it to you if you don't want to leave the house. You can get that. And then if you want to take a short trek out west, you can go hit them up in Wahoo. They'll message you, let you know when they're there, and you can go pick up your bottle there.
Absolutely. So visit wahoodistillery.com and use that promo code MavPuckcast. All right, Jason, we've got to talk about some things you missed at Baxter Arena.
I'm so glad we brought this back.
I am too. People like this. People like this segment. So Friday night, Coca-Cola was the game sponsor, and Santa was out front with the big Coca-Cola truck out there. So very festive. Did you see Santa out there? Did you give Santa your Christmas list?
I did not see Santa, and you'd have to be a good boy to get gifts, and so I just don't bother because Lord knows I don't qualify for that.
Bridget actually went back outside to get video of Santa because I didn't realize he was there either. So,
Yeah.
So neat deal. Nice, nice to have Coca-Cola products in Baxter Arena now. For many years, it was Pepsi.
I was not a Pepsi fan, so
Yeah, I'm not
I'm
either.
glad we have Coke.
I agree. One of the kind of fun things on Saturday night, one of the advertisers on the dasher board fell off during the Saturday
Partially
game.
fell off.
Partially
like
fell
napping
off.
into wind.
Yeah, Tim Wagner had a really good picture, and if you're watching the video of this, you're seeing that photo that he took and posted on Twitter on Saturday night. The dasher board for Hawaiian Brothers Bar and Grill.
Yeah, and play went on for a while with it just kind of like half hanging off there. And then we got a whistle, a stop of play, and they came out to do the ice cleaning. And one of the linesmen went over and ripped it off and then tossed it down where Western Michigan would exit the arena there. And so it's like, the little maintenance by the refs while they're out there.
Yeah, I guess I haven't paid attention to how those dasher boards are constructed. I've designed dasher boards for the arena when I did work for Exarban Cinema. They were a game sponsor, and they had a dasher board at the arena. So, well, and one other new thing this weekend at Baxter Arena, Your in-laws gave us the heads up on this was the concession stand that's behind our section, and we sit in section 216. So on the west side of the arena, right? They were selling Philly cheesesteaks, both beef and chicken,
Hmm.
and your mother-in-law and father-in-law both got one. I think she
Yeah.
got the beef and he got the chicken.
Did you ask them how it was?
No.
Oh,
See, I saw
well,
him
we
going up the
didn't do that
stairs
part.
and then we didn't.
See,
I
because
thought
we've
maybe,
talked about this. I like, and I believe you do too, when there's a uniqueness to the concession stuff. When we were in Duluth, we talked about their grilled cheese and tomato soup, and we've talked about the whole carving station that's at DU a number of times. And so, like, I like that, like, local flair, or I've not been there and gotten one, but I've had people tell me that you can get lobster rolls from like concession carts at Boston University's games, and I'm like, ooh, well, I mean, come on, hockey and a lobster roll, like, let's do that. I like that kind of thing, so I think it's cool if they, keep that. Hopefully, it's not just a one series thing.
yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Duluth, and there were a lot of really terrific concessions at Amsoil Arena. I tended to get the standard fare, so I got the pizza, which was a big, large slice of pizza, which was great, and then I got a bacon cheeseburger with fries the next night. But your wife got some more unique things, and she was talking about like a wild rice
Brat,
brat or something.
yeah. Yeah, we saw that on one of the concession lists, and we are like, man, we should have tried that because that would have been interesting.
And
You
we
can
were,
also get barbecue mac and cheese.
yeah, that had like burnt ends in the
Yeah.
mac and cheese. And it sounded really good. And I was that wild rice brat. I like we wish somebody had gotten that because we couldn't figure out whether it was like a brat with wild rice on it or whether the brat was made of wild rice or had wild rice. We don't know. So we'll next time we go, we'll have to.
We'll experiment more. But look, we're talking about something at the rink, and that's I think the big thing is like for a long time, like the only thing that you could get at Baxter Arena was kind of like the standard fare. So like I'd always go over to that little like barbecue place that's over in the corner where the Blue Line Club is now, because they had well, remember, go back in the podcast and you'll see the picture of it because we did. It said pizza box nachos. I thought it was something like comic, like a little gimmick kind of thing. I didn't realize it was literally a pizza box filled with nachos. I think the entire section 216 shared that. Like, it was so much food, but at
Yeah,
least it was unique. At least it was something interesting. Like now it's like, oh yeah, let me go spend $20 on a hot dog.
exactly. No, that's a lot of fun when they have some of those unique items. And we probably need to be better about promoting them. It's just a lot of times it takes time for it to filter to us that there are new things going on because
Well,
I don't always get concessions. So I think it'd be nice for fans to know.
we're
So
ahead of time too. I mean, the university, we talk about promotion a lot. It's the world you and I live in. And so, like, this is a perfect opportunity. Like, I would have loved to know last week that they were going to drop this Philly this weekend. Even if especially if it's this series only, that you can get this, product or whatever it is, right? Like, give us a heads up. I would love to be sitting here talking about, hey, next home series, you've got to check out the, barbecue mac and cheese with pulled pork on it. Like, let us help, UNO kind of promote these types of things instead of I didn't even realize, like, and it's right behind my section for crying out loud, like.
yeah. And Jason and I are more than willing to sample
Oh
any
yeah.
concession items you want to try ahead of time. It's that time again in the podcast. We've been doing it the last 2 weeks for the mavpuck.com weekly top 20. We need like a little jingle like the weekly top 20 for the week
Let's
of
work on that. That's
November.
actually not a bad idea.
Do you like that?
I
Yeah. The
like that idea.
weekly top 20 for the week of November 24th. Here is the mavpuck.com weekly top 20 as compiled by Jason again this week. I'm not compiling the top 20. I'm just telling you right now. It's hard enough for me to remember what's going on with our team. I don't need to look into the entirety of Division One hockey. At number 20, Jason has Bemidji State. Number 19, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Number 18, Dartmouth. Number 17, Northeastern. Number 16, Yukon. Number 15, UMass, which, as I've mentioned before, we played earlier this season. Number 14, Cornell. We play them after Christmas on the road out there in Ithaca, New York. So that'll be an interesting series against an ECAC opponent. Number 13, Boston College. Number 12, Boston University. So both Boston schools right there next to each other, Jason. Number 11, Minnesota State Mankato. Number 10, Wisconsin. Number 9, Western Michigan. Just swept us at Baxter Arena. Number 8, Quinnipiac. I'll tell you what, that Quinnipiac program, I've really been impressed with the trajectory of that program over the past decade. Rand Pecknold has done a great job with that program. Number 7,
Never seem to
Maine.
have a down year. Like it seems like they're just always retooling, and you know what you're going to get out of them. And that national championship was just the right timing of things. But yeah, they're a dangerous team. They'll come in and surprise a lot of teams, I think, this spring.
Absolutely. I always look forward to watching them every year if they are in the NCAA tournament. Fun team to watch. Number 7, Maine. Number 6, North Dakota. Number 5, Penn State. Number 4, Minnesota Duluth. Number 3, the Michigan State Spartans. Number 2, Denver. Number 1, the Michigan Wolverines. Jason, you got anything to say about the list this week?
The few things, you basically swap the two Michigan teams there. I think Michigan did a much better job than State of taking care of business this weekend, and so you kind of just had to kind of raise them up. I think, Denver is Denver. You look for them to kind of be dominant. They were on Friday. Saturday, not so much. They kind of just fell back into their link. We'll be fine mentality, and so hard to put them one when they kind of do that. Maine watched out. Maine did not have a great weekend. I think they're better than how they played this weekend. They probably know that. I don't know what their schedule is. I don't know who has them next, but I am glad it's not us.
Yeah, I know. And you and I last weekend we talked about how impressed we were with Maine, and then they had a not so great weekend. So UNO this upcoming weekend, the weekend after Thanksgiving here in the United States, we are headed to Yale in New Haven, Connecticut. I mean, we're probably headed out there before Thanksgiving, but we will be watching the games after Thanksgiving, Jason. Yale is 3-4-0 this season. They are 3-0 at home. And just so people understand, the ECAC teams, which includes the Ivy League teams that play Division One hockey, they start their season a little bit later than the other Division One teams. And don't ask me why. I think at one time I knew the reason why, but I don't want to try and remember it at this point. Yale is 4th in the ECAC. Yale is led by interim head coach Joe Howe, who is 3-4-0 as a head coach. Howe was a goalie at Colorado College and later on was a volunteer assistant and the director of hockey operations at Denver. And he was a goalie coach at DU, and he coached Tanner Gillette, a name that followers of this conference will be familiar with. So he looks like a good young head coach. Going and playing Yale, it's going to be different than some of this NCHC competition we've had the past month. Potentially as an opportunity for UNO to have success and get some positive results.
this is not a team you can take lightly. Like I
No.
wouldn't think you're not going into this thinking that anyone's going to give you respect if you sweep Yale. So the question is how do you get up for it? Can our guys go in there saying, we can right the ship and this is our way to gain some momentum, going into the last 2/3 of the season or going into the, last month of the year, calendar year? Or do they go into it thinking, doesn't matter. No one cares anymore, and they kind of just go through the motions. I really hope they come out, and we've been talking about this. I need them to make a statement. They need to come out, and this is a good chance for you to do it, right? Like come out here and win 7-0, 9-1, something ridiculous like that. Like just make a statement and make people pay attention to you. And then grind out a hard fought second win. That would be the best case, I think, for UNO to do on the road.
Yeah, they definitely need some positive momentum here. It's been a rough stretch for UNO and some players to watch, Jason. Sophomore forward Ronan O'Donnell leads the team in points with 5 goals and 3 assists. Sophomore defenseman Huey Hooker, which Jason might be the best name in college hockey, has 1 goal and 2 assists, and he leads the Blue Liners on that Yale team in points. Both goaltenders have played this season. Sophomore goalie Noah Pack has a 2.55 goals against average and a .920 save percentage. And junior goalie Jack Stark has a 4.62 goals against average and a .875 save percentage. So I'm anticipating, figuring that we'll see Pack in net, but who knows, Jason? So what's your prediction? Do you think we'll get swept? Do you think we'll split? Do you think we'll sweep? What do you think is going to happen out there in New Haven, Connecticut against Yale?
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to throw my support behind the guys completely and say they can go out and they can sweep Yale and make a statement. I don't know if we'll get what we need and what I'd want, which is that big statement win yet.
Yeah.
But I think they can go out there and grind out a few victories, comfortable on one night and then a little less comfortable on the next, and then come back with a pair of wins and say like we've got some momentum now. Let's really make a push.
Yeah, it'll give us an idea of where this team is at. The
Yeah,
question is, you know, we're not playing like top 10, top 20 type team here. So how we perform is going to give us kind of a good idea of where we're at as a program right now. Because
and
it's,
they're not looking. I hope to gosh they're not looking forward. But as a fan base, like this is a perfect opportunity for you to kind of gain some momentum before you have to go to North Dakota and play them again. After they did what they did to us here in Baxter. And so, you really need that kind of we can do this mentality going up there. Otherwise, North Dakota is just going to be too strong at home.
I'm going to be a little bit more cautious. I'm going to say we split with Yale. Should be a fun road trip for the boys. And I hope they can get it done like you predicted. But I'm a little cautious right now, the way things have gone the past month. I'm going to need to see where the team is at. And I'm looking forward to seeing some good, solid performances from this Maverick team. Friday and Saturday's games will be at 6 p.m. Omaha time at Ingalls Rink in New Haven, Connecticut. If you're not going, you can listen to the games on 1290 Coil in Omaha or online anywhere on the Varsity Network app. Mike Valancourt and Terry Leahy will have the call. And you will be happy to note, Jason, that both games will be streaming on ESPN Plus. And be sure to follow MavPuck on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all of our social channels to stay up to date this upcoming weekend during that Yale series. And you can find links to all of our social channels at mavpuck.com, as well as back episodes of this podcast. But until next time, Jason, go Mavs.
Go Mavs.